हरि ओम। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। समस्तजनकल्याणी निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पातञ्जलि प्राञ्जलिना नतोऽस्मि। हरि ओम। In the subject of Patanjali Yoga Darshana, we have come to a point which is a very vital point in the life of a learning sadhaka. We all are trying to solve the mystery of the universe. There are so many deluded in this world who do not even think about what they are doing and what this world means to them. Who am I? Why is this world existing? What is my relationship to the world? What am I precisely here for? What if I do, I shall call myself worth living? None of these questions attract the mind of millions of people, except a few elevated thinkers like all of you, the one who are attending, have taken pains to understand why I am here, what is my nature, and what am I supposed to do? Where do I go from where I am? And this mystery gets solved only and only by Vedas, and the Darshanas being the reflective mirror of the Vedas. They are the one who solve the mystery and give us the direction for the efforts that we do, which is called sadhana. Just mere faith, Shraddha alone cannot be of much help. You may motivate a person to run a race. The motivation comes from encouraging words, that is Shraddha. You can do it. You shall do it. You have the ability to do it. Don't worry, you will do it. These are all words before accomplishment, so they amount to the Shraddha. But unless the person has undertaken the exercise of running by himself, he cannot complete the race. Similarly, those who have only Shraddha, those who believe only in clapping and doing the Ghantanadam, it is not a bad act to do, yet it has a limitation of what it can offer to you. And that is why a thinker, the one who has a vichara with him, takes the whole exercise very seriously. And when you take this exercise very seriously, You become an ardent student of Upanishada and the Darshanas. We are the students of Darshana. The Darshana that we are studying at present is Patanjali Yoga Darshanam. And in that, we saw one aspect of a human being extremely dedicated who decided to undertake human or immense effort on his part to reach the godhood, which is called Purushakhyati. And for that, he undertook an exercise without the help of anybody, but just with the help of his own mind. With the sheer grit and determination, the purity of heart that he had, he undertook a journey solely by himself, and just with the help of mind or antakarana and pointing it through ekagrata, he started revealing the constituents of the creation and becomes knowledgeable about each part of the universe, slowly taking him to larger and larger parts of the universe, becoming knowledgeable about the intricacies of universe, thereby becoming master of the intricacies of universe, part by part, step by step, till he reaches a stage where nothing is left to be known. It may sound very easy in the theoretical terms, but in the practical terms, it is an extremely difficult or rather almost impossible exercise, because it requires an element of concentration and a vairagyam, which is of such a high degree and precision that many, in spite of the giant stature that they have, they may not reach the stage. As you go higher up, when the roads become very narrow, when the journey becomes extremely arduous, at that point of time, going becomes tough, moving becomes difficult, and that is when one has to depend on what is called as a krupa or blessing or prasadam of that entity which is ever available, provided she or he or it is propitiated by the ardent sadhaka. Such an entity which lives beyond prakriti, yet it is not a purusha. So such as Vishesha Purusha is called Ishvara, who or whose presence is only meant for helping such sadhakas. The sadhakas were started from the beginning till the sadhakas of a very high order. All the sadhakas are helped directly or indirectly by the blessing or the krupa or the prasad of the Ishvara. If this is the case, if he is the person that is going to help me in reaching the ultimate peak, then I must know how to take the help from him. Can I call him? Do I give a shout to him? How do I go close to him and tell him, please help me? This is called pranidhana. Ishvara pranidhana, meaning pleasing the Ishvara, propitiating the Ishvara, propitiating the almighty principle that exists, which has the entire knowledge, control, and availability, omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotency of the creation. The very big question is, if I want to have an help from somebody, and if he's a friend of mine, I'm able to reach him because he looks like me. I'm able to shake hands with him and request him in the words saying that, please help me. Now, these three words called please help me communicate to my friend, what am I asking for? And he gives me the help that I need. But if I have to request an almighty Ishvara, I must find where he is. And then I must know which words should I speak so that he knows I'm asking for help. The words that the Ishvara understands has two conditions attached to it. One who is asking for the help has to be extremely ardently sincere in his approach and eligible to utter the words. The eligibility comes from Chitta Shuddhata. The one who has purity of heart and gives a sound or a hello or a hi to the Ishvara does respond to it. Mind well, there are no exceptions for this. The innocent child, when it cries out of agony and pain while getting delivered from the wombs of the mother, he is giving a shout to the Lord, the Ishvara, with the sincerest heart, and he gets delivered from the pain. If this is how he works, then at a higher level, when you want to invoke the Ishvara, there must be a language, there must be a word to communicate with Ishvara. The word that is available, ever available for us to communicate with the Ishvara is called Omkar. Omkar or Pranava is the communication between the Lord and ourselves. Now comes the question, when we utter a word, does every word reach the person that it is intended to? If I use a word in a language called Hebrew, nothing will be understood by you because the word is there. However, you are not perceptible to that word because you cannot make any meaning out of it. That means a word that is uttered has to have a power of making the other person understand, or you must speak those words that are understood by the other person. With this such a common logic, it goes without saying, what is the word that the Ishvara understands? The Ishvara understands the word which is perceptible by the Ishvara in its right earnest is Omkara. The question arises, how is it and why should I be believing that a word that you tell me as Omkara should be the word for calling the Ishvara? What is the guarantee that you are not cheating me? You might have come across some abstract word and you're trying to thirst upon me this word, saying that this is Ishvara's word. And that is what we are now at the mantra number 27, which says Tasya, Chaturthi Tasya means Ishwarasya, Vachakaha Pranava. The God's representative, God is indicated by the indicative Pranava. to understand why the Omkara only is the representation or indicative thing of Ishvara, we must try to understand something about the universe itself. To a layman's eyes and ears, universe is made up of lots of solids and liquids and gases. Different colors, different sizes, humongous things, smallest possible things, colliding things, combining things, happy things, sorrowful things, tall trees, small trees, huge people, small people, a small child, extremely dilapidated, emaciated, old man. These are all variations that we see in this world. However, from the pure physicist point of view, as we all know as students of science, if we look at everything in this world, howsoever solid it may look, it is not solid, liquid, or gas at all. We all through science know that everything that exists in this world is in the form of a wave. One of the theory or the forefront theory that's being dealt now is what's called a dual theory of wave and particle. It is a logical development of quantum mechanics or the quantum theory. Right from the days of Einstein or Niels Bohr, the theory has undergone lots and lots of developments, including an important insertion by Schrödinger. It moved forward even in 2003, and as late as 2010, the experiments that were carried out has clearly shown us that the particle and the wave, they have a duality between them, that what exists as particle today can exist as a wave in some other day. So in the time reference, what is particle becomes a wave, what is wave becomes a particle. The mass and the energy, the particle and the wave, interchangeability of these two, and uncertainty about saying whether it is in a particle form or a wave form. This is what is shrouding the mystery of creation. When the vibration reaches the speed of light, the mass becomes extinct. That means there is a possibility of massless, only waveform existence possibility, provided the speed with which the momentum is happening is at the speed of light or more. Theoretically, nothing can move beyond the speed of light. But this is what the science says. The ancient Hindu science talks about the thoughts. Thoughts have an ability to move faster than the light. In fact, many, many, many more times faster than the light. The Anjaneya, Hanumana, is supposed to be faster than the wind. In principle, if logically corroborated with these findings, we can very confidently say that all thoughts are massless objects being projected in the form of waves. So a thought is a wave where there is no mass, but only frequency, because it's a wave. The wave that is propagated in this world, the wave keeps on moving, and the same wave gets into the particle form. The reason why we are trying to discuss the nature of the wave is the waves that are there in this world. In fact, the whole universe is made up of vibrating waves. It's nothing else but vibrations. What looks solid like a wall is nothing else but the vibrations, whether it is subatomic particles or macroparticles. If everything is in the wave form, then it goes without saying that the creation itself started with a wave form. And mind well, when a wave is traveling lesser than the speed of the light, then and then only the time constituent comes into the picture, because the frame of reference of the observer can vis-a-vis refer to the speed of the wave and come to the conclusion of some time. However, when the observer also has a speed of light and the wave also is moving at the speed of light, that means when the C in the equation of E is equal to mc square is excelled by both the observer and the particle, then the time freezes, which has conclusively been proved that time is a relative aspect. That means at a time when the space and the time was not existing is definitely a physical theoretical possibility. That is the point when avyakta was there, because nothing was expressed. At the time of creation, what was created first? The God's particle that is being researched by the physics is a different aspect altogether. The question is, it can't be a particle, it has to be a wave. And if that was the wave, then the most primordial first wave that came right at the beginning of the creation must have had a frequency, the frequency that definitely gave rise to a sound. Nothing vibrates without a sound. Whether your ears are perceptible to that sound frequency or not, that is the limitation that you have. Nothing less than 20 and more than 20,000 cycles per second can be perceived by our own ears. We call them as sonic waves. The sound, the speech that I'm making, you're able to hear because it falls into that frequency. Anything falling in the frequency smaller than 20 and beyond 20,000 is called infrasonic and ultrasonic. None of them are perceptible to our ears. However, certain animals like dogs can have a higher frequency and they can hear to those sounds also. The rodents like mice and rats can listen to frequencies which are not audible to us. What it means is there are frequencies gathering in this cosmos which are not perceptible to our ears. So the first frequency, the first sound that was created just as a pure sound, because it was not alambitanad, it was not dependent on any other sound. When two masses collide, when a mass pushes another mass, we know that it does create a sound wave, which is called as ahatanad. But the one which was created at the beginning, which is called as cosmic impulse, which is again nothing else but ekoham bahusyami sankalpam of the Brahma, which utilized its energy part, Shakti part, and the first wave that was formed without striking two things together. So it is called as anahatanad. The first frequency, the first vibration, and the corresponding sound of that. And that is why even the science today agrees that what came first is Big Bang. It was big naturally because it was an explosion, bang because it was a sound. It goes without saying what came first was a wave which had a sound not perceptible to our ears. And the rule of the universe is waves do not die. They transform. But once propagated, it keeps on propagating by transforming itself or without transforming itself. What it means is the entire cosmos is full of vibrations. Are the waves which are constantly colliding with each other, transforming by themselves or existing by their own. Some of the waves which have a very large frequency called radio waves, they are still reaching the earth because they have started from a very far off planet somewhere in the galaxy, which are yet to reach us, even though traveling at the speed of light. Imagine the expanse of the universe. If the light is still taking time to reach us, in spite of the fact that it got created 14 or 13 or whatever billion years ago, indicates that vast expanse. We are not concerned with the expansion of the universe, but we are concerned with the main constituent of the universe, which is nothing else but the wave form. If it is in the wave form, then nothing in this world disappears. It just transforms. So the solid body, which is called my body, which is nothing else but the vibrating things which have coalesced in such a fashion that it looks solid to me. But if we look inside, it is all full of subatomic particles constantly vibrating. Only when they come together in a compact form, we call it as a liver, the eye, the head, the disc, and the body. When I get disembodied, where does the body go? It may apparently look that he's buried or he's burnt and the fire takes him away. What has happened is the waves have been loosened up and the waves have gone and transformed themselves into some other form of energy. That means the sum total always remains the same. Nothing goes, nothing comes. Nainan chindanti shastrani. The waves cannot be destroyed. They shall continue to be there in some form or the other. If this is the case, then comes the question, to know all the waves, all the wave patterns in this universe, which has a definite pattern behind it. Creation is not an abstract game. As Einstein said, God hasn't thrown a dice. There is a rule. There is definitely some amount of design behind everything. Understanding these designs means understanding the Ishvara, the one who is playing the dice. And that is why a yogi, with enormous help of his one-pointed concentration, tries to understand how the dice has been thrown by the Lord by focusing on the objects. Every object that he focuses, he comes to know the wave pattern of that object and realizes the key or the secret of vibrating energies in all the solid matters. Knowing one is as good as knowing the whole. That is why, starting from the sthula vastu, gross object, yogi starts slowly focusing on this vibratory aspect of a particular thing, which is called sukshma. So concentrating on a piece of wood which is shaped in the form of Lord Rama is the first step of exercise of concentration. As he just opens up that wooden thing, goes inside to the vibration, and through that object he is able to get to the roots of the vibratory aspect of every object, adjusting his own thought frequency with the frequency of that particular object and creating a kind of resonance. In other words, the consciousness of the observer and the consciousness of the object, they mingle into one. And when two frequencies meet each other and the frequencies resonate with each other, it means a perfect knowledge of that particular thing. Our panchendriyas only get acquainted to the outer aspect of the vibration, but do not resonate with the same frequency. A meditational technique is nothing else but focusing the vibrations of our thought. Mind well, thought is a massless object. Every object or every wave is called Jada. The vibratory force in it, the frequency creating force in it is the consciousness. which is in the form of urja or the force. The urja or the force is the Shakti Tattva of the Satchit Ananda Brahma or the Purusha. If that is what is going to make it vibrate, that means without it, there is nothing that can vibrate. So that means every object which is in the wave form is a jada made to vibrate, basically because of the consciousness, chaitanyam or the urja, which we call as energy. It is this energy that mingles with the energy of the observer. And in these cases, the identity of the energy, which is wrongly notioned as me and mine, gets lost. The two objects become one. In fact, the observer and the observed, they become one. Because their frequencies match, the knowledge dawns. In the similar manner, when many things of this world are known to the yogi, he reaches a stage where he has to extricate himself as an observer from the system. He has to step beyond a point of creation. Within the creation, moving upwards is relatively an easy exercise. But getting out of the system is the most difficult and ardent task. That is where he requires the help of that Savishesha Purusha called Ishvara. So in order to do that, what the yogi does is, he propitiates himself to the Ishvara and does his bhakti or pranidhana. To do the bhakti or pranidhana of Ishvara, because Ishvara is such a universal thing, he must have a universal word to call him. A smaller object, like a fountain pen, is called by a word fountain pen, and it denotes something which we all know. A word is closely associated with its meaning. And mind well, the frequency, the vibration, the wave that was propagated as the first wave in the world at the time of creation of the Big Bang, which had a particular sound called Nada, is called Nada Brahma because it is the most primal or the most initial wave that was thrown or propagated, from which the whole world is made by nothing else but by mutation, transformation, mingling and resonance of different types of waves. The world or the galaxies are being made. That is why even within the creation, the end of the big and huge massive stars also creates an explosion or nadam. So everything comes from the nadam. Everything goes into the nadam. If that is what the case, that means the whole world is made up of sound, and sound because it is in the vibratory waveform. Every wave creates a sound. The sound may not be perceptible to our ears because of our inability to perceive it, but the fact remains that every wave has a sound. So the wave that was created at the beginning of the creation, which must have had a sound, that is called as Nada Brahma. This Nada Brahma, if one is able to identify with that particular wave, that is the way to reach the Creator, because that is the first creation of the Creator. It is the closest possible clue to the Creator. And such first primal original cosmic evolutionary waveform is denoted by the word Omkara. That is why, remember, all other things in the Vedas or everywhere in the scriptures are words. Omkar is not a word. You should always remember, Omkar is a sound. It sounds like a Uma, but it is not a Uma. It is Om is a sound. Because it has supposed to resonate with the same vibrations with which the creation was made. And that is how it is supposed to make us reach to the Ishvara. The question now comes, every word that we pronounce has a corresponding shape or corresponding attribute. Sweet, when I say this word, there is an attribute of sweetness, which may be abstract, but it does mean something to me, and everyone understands that. So remember one thing, it is the idea that comes first. So it is the shabda that comes first, and then the rupam comes. One of the classical difference between the philosopher John Dyson and Swami Vivekananda when they met together in the University of KL, the subject of discussion was Schopenhauer. And John Dyson asked Vivekananda, do you believe in the philosophy of Schopenhauer? And Vivekananda said, I have read him. I don't believe in him because he thinks things came first and they were named, which commonly all of us believe. Vivekananda Maharaj said, it is the idea comes first and then the shape or the rupam comes. So it is first the namam, then the rupam. It sounds very odd. Symbolic representation of a thing with the help of a word, this is how we feel. But when a mango comes in front of me, and if I call it a mango, the mango word itself is existing prior to the mango somewhere, which is brought there for the attribute and then commonly agreed upon by everyone, and then the language adopts the word mango. Because mango is made up of M-A-N-G-O, 5 alphabets. The alphabets have origin, from where they have originated. What is M? Can you show me the shape of M? You can write an M. But what does M mean? Nothing. They are called Moola Aksharam. A, E, K, K, G. The Moola Aksharam have come out of the ideation and combination of which has created a word, and the word gets ascribed to a meaning, and then the main meaning fructifies into an object. If this is the case, that means every utterance of a word has a corresponding shape to it. If this is the case, the entire shape or entire object is contained within the word. Because if the word has a power of expressing an object, then the word has a power of entering into an object. Sounds a little surprising to us. So far, we have treated words as a very cursory thing. It is not as cursory or as casual as we look at it. Words have power. I'm speaking to you, the words are going and blasting the tympanic membrane, the eardrum, and creating some impulses inside your brain and the mind. But you all understand precisely what I'm talking, and it is making some changes inside you. All this is power of word. The word uttered can penetrate into the meaning of the object that it indicates. That is how Shabda and Artha and its relationship has been studied in very much depth by Hindu Shastra. The theory of Sphotavada, the theory of Mantra Shastra is all based on sound and its effect. A meaningful sound, in other words, a sound that means something to us, is called word, or else it is a sound. But every sound is in the form of wave. And that is why if a small thing or a finite thing is indicated by a finite word, the infinite thing like Ishvara has to be indicated by a word which is equally appropriate and universal. And that is why if the whole creation is because of Ishvara, then all the names of all the things in the world have to be put together to say that this is Ishvara. In order to combine, in order to completely assimilate all the words of all the languages so far spoken in the past, and that will be spoken in the future, if they're all put together into one word, then only it can express Ishvara, and that word is Omkar. The reason why it is so is because, irrespective of which language we are speaking, the word has to originate at the beginning of the gutter called larynx, and it has to be completed before closing of the lips. So if I close the lips and if I close my laryngeal box, this is the area where the words are produced. Any language in the past, even the extinct languages, any language that is likely to come in future, because it is creating nothing else but the nad. So at the beginning of the laryngeal box or the gutter, a sound comes. The sound is produced by the pranas. That which propels something is prana. Prakarshena nayati. That which propels. And this propelling ability, all the particles in the world would have been dead if they were not put into motion. If a motion puts something else in motion, like a car, the engine puts the wheel into the motion, but that is engine putting wheel into the motion. Who put the motion at the beginning of universe? There was nothing else to put the beginning into the motion. So the one who put everything in the motion right at the beginning of the world or the creation is Ishvara. That is why that particular thing which is propelling the thing, creating the motion, urja, is nothing else but the aspect of Ishvara, which exists in all of us in the form of prana. This prana propels that particular sound up to this point, and that sound from the point of beginning of gutter to the closing of lips gives it in different shapes depending upon how that sound is thrown on the palate or on the teeth or on the lips or through the nose, and then the sound, meaningful sound, is converted into word. The shape of the word may differ depending upon the language, but it does get created from the beginning of the gutter, larynx, to the opening of to the closing of the lips. The one that starts at the beginning is a sound. When it comes in the purest possible form at the beginning of the gutter, it just sounds like so this is it's a natural flow of the wind which has been propelled by the pranas and is about to express. If we just keep mouth open, don't move anything inside the mouth, and let the air go out by creating the friction only, then the word that comes out is a. That's why the child starts blabbering with the first word, a. A goat bleats, a. So, is the first beginning. Because the entire box in which this sound is produced is closed from all sides by cheeks, by teeth, by tongue, by palate. It's a box. Such a closed box, when this comes forward, now gets into a tunnel which is elliptical in shape. And in that tunnel, the same sound because it expands from a smaller gutter to the little larger area, the same a gets converted into a flattened thing called o. So it becomes o. And now the exhalation part is there, which is cut off by closing the lips. So the same sound now comes and puts itself with force against the closed lips, because of which it assumes a character of ma. So what is happening is the same becoming u, becoming ma. Om, om, om. This is how the sound is going to move forward. Now this sound, the Rishis and Munis observed, as a close resemblance to the primal frequency that was thrown open at the beginning of creation, the beginning of cosmic impulse. And this being the primal impulse, this Omkar, kar is akar, the shape of the primal sound having a shape of Om, is the one which represents the first cosmic impulse, and the first cosmic impulse is nothing else but Lord Himself. Because the entire creation started from that first vibration. That is why Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. Ishwara's Vachaka is Pranava. Mind well, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is not an arbitrary manual. It is God's revelation. Kapila Muni is Ishwara Koti, the first Ishwara Koti of the mankind. So when he says Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha, means Omkar is not the indicator of Ishwara. Omkar is Ishwara. We need to very clearly understand this. I represent Government of India. So I'm acting as an officer, government officer. I'm representing Government of India. Representation is different. I am Government of India. That is different. So one is called Sanketa Janya, one is called Sanketa Dyota. A pug mark in the mud of a tiger is indicative of the tiger, but the stripes on the tiger's body is not indicative. It is tiger. I hope we understand the difference. Omkara as a mantra is not indicative of Ishwara. Omkar is Ishwara. It may sound very difficult to fathom, difficult to digest. This is what Patanjali Maharaj is telling us, that Tasya Vachakaha Pranava. Vachaka means Vachya, Vachaka Sambandha. Ishwara is Vachya, Pranava is Vachaka. Vachya Vachaka Sambandham, meaning they are the one. So Omkar is not the meaning of Ishwara. Again, Omkar is not the meaning of Ishwara. Gold is the meaning of Suvarna. Gold is the meaning of Suvarna. So it is a meaning. No. Omkar is Ishwara. And that is why when you want to do Ishwara Pranidhana, you do the Pranidhana of Omkar itself. And when you do Omkara Pranidhana, that means you are actually propitiating God. The reason is, everything that is a saguna in this world, qualitatively made different in this world, has a qualities which our mind can easily grasp because of the five senses. But there are abstract things in this world which are called as gunas. I am a good person. Can you show me an object called good? There is no object called good. It is an abstract concept. Sir, show me a triangle. You may draw a triangle, but triangle as a concept is an abstract concept. What do you understand by meaning when the one person says triangle? You've not seen triangle anywhere, but you know what a triangle is because there is an abstract concept called triangle. Sweetness, bitter, these are abstract concepts. They do mean something to me, but they're abstract. I can't show bitter. I can't put it on a plate, my hand. I can perhaps put a neem leaf on my hand, but bitterness, I cannot put it on my hand because it is abstract. When you have something abstract, means no formal shape, but quality is there. When a quality is there and the shape is not there, it is called as Saguna Nirakar. No shape can be demonstrated, but quality can be demonstrated. So you have Saguna Sakar, Quality is also there, shape is also there. Bhagavan Shri Ram in the Chaturbhuja form, Saguna Sakara. When only qualities are there, but the bodies cannot be identified, cannot be indicated. Only the quality, brightness of a sun, only quality. Sun with brightness, Saguna Sakar, only brightness of sun. It is Nirakara Saguna, Saguna Nirakara. Omkar and Ishvara sadhana is a Saguna Nirakara sadhana. And to reach Nirguna Nirakar from Saguna Sakar is difficult, but to reach Nirguna Nirakar from Saguna Nirakar is easy. However, it's not a job of a beginner. An advanced yogi undertakes this particular sadhana of Saguna Nirakara, Ishvara. We saw the Ishvara's Aishwarya, what are the Shad Aishwaryas and thus 10 Avyayas in the last session. So Omkar is a sound. If the Omkar sadhana has to be done, one has to master the sound. The frequencies is what is the soul of the sound. What is a correct sound? A correct frequency. Incorrect frequency changes the sound. Even when we sing a song, if you're not singing well, people say you are out of tune. Out of tune means the frequencies are not coming at a right pitch, right wavelength. So the intensity, the pitch, the wavelength, the amplitude, everything matters when it comes to sound. Similarly, all the mantras which indicate a particular thing have to be uttered with a precision of amplitude, frequency, clarity, and it is not mere repetition of certain words. It has to be with what is called as bhavana. Bhava. So the Ishvara is propitiated through pranava because Ishvarasya vachakaha pranava. Pranava or the Omkar is sound and not a word. Omkar is not the meaning of Ishvara, but Omkar is Ishvara. And why is this called as pranava? It is called pranava because prakarshena nuyate stuyat iti pranavaha. One definition of pranava. That word which can be praised, eulogized at its best is called pranava. Avati iti om. This is another etymology. Avati, protector, guard. Om sahana avatu. Saha, now. Now means we all. Om sahanau avatu. Avavaktaram, avashrotaram, avadataram, avadhataram. All this is protect, guard. One which guards us is Avati iti om. So Ishvara is the Abhideya Artha of Omkar. Om is Vachaka, Ishvara is Vacha. So the sambandham between Omkar and Ishvara is Vacha Vachaka Sambandha. Vacha Vachaka Sambandha is ever existing. In the Vyasa Bhashyam of this particular sutra, Vyasa Muni has given very good explanation. He says the father and the son relation is ever existing. Only when a son is born, we say he is a father and he is the son. But the relationship between these people who are born to these two people, their relation, is it a new relation? It is not a new relation. Father and son as a relationship always existed. Somebody who had a son now became father. So he utilized the relationship. In this manner, Ishvara and Omkar is ever existing. Somebody who now said Omkar has now realized that it is for Ishvara. So it is not only in one particular creation, even after the Pralaya, when the new Srushti comes, again the Omkar and Ishvara are always there. So Omkar and Ishvara, Vachya Vachaka Sambandham, Omkar is a sound, Omkar is the meaning of Ishvara, and their relationship is forever there. The question comes, we know that how to propitiate God by doing Omkar. So now question comes, how do I do Omkar sadhana? The first important aspect told by the Rishis, very nicely described by none else but the Diksha Guru of our own Gurudeva, Swami Shivananda Maharaj, and also explained by Swami Krishnananda Maharaj, also elaborated by Swami Vivekananda Maharaj. If we take the gist of all of this, the Omkara has to be understood with these three limbs. Om. So when an Omkara is pronounced, it should be pronounced at a place which is absolutely solitude, and silence has to be around because no other sound should be created. Now we are going to pronounce a sound which is the most primordial sound of all. So no other sound from any other place should be in a position to disturb us. If such a sound has to be pronounced in the solitude, then we have to remember from where it originates. You have to remember and imagine that the sound is coming because of the air that is coming from the navel or from the Muladhara Chakra. From the Muladhara Chakra, the air is moving up, and now it is in a form of a sound which I am not able to hear unless it comes and reaches the base of the gutter or the larynx. When it comes at this place, it expresses itself into the primordial sound and an alphabet, which is the prime vowel of Sanskrit language. So it has to come in the form of So when the comes and forms oo, and when it is reaching ma, remember the movement of the air has stopped, but it hasn't stopped. The sound has to reach to the Sahasrara Chakra, the vortex. So the feeling has to be there that the Omkara, which has emanated at the beginning of the larynx, has gone through that oo and then become ma with a slight nasal twang, because it is now migrating or traveling towards the Sahasrara or the head, at the top of the head, the vortex. So when that happens, the question comes, how long the Omkara should be there? There are three ways of doing Omkara. Om. This is Alpa. The Madhyama. Om. And there is a Dirgha Omkara. Om. So it depends upon how much time you spend in pronouncing, which is counted by the word called matra. How many matras? One matra is equal to, if you make the fist of your fingers, and if you move it around your knee once and do this, this is called one matra. So moving it around the knee and making a snapping sound, that much time is called one matra. So usually we can do a, u, ma, each with one matra, each with two matras, each with three matras. Depending upon that, the Omkara will be done. When in a solitude, with a complete concentration, knowing well that Om represents the omnipotent, omniscient Ishvara, having the bhava into it. Bhava, because the 28th mantra is going to talk about Tat Japaha Tat Artha Bhavanam. That is the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So Omkar without Bhavana is just an utterance. So Omkar, when we are doing, We have to have a feeling that this is nothing else but propitiating the Ishvara, the omniscient, the omnipotent. I am that. I am not limited. I am not Sant. I am Brahman. The feeling has to be there. And then the words have to come, starting initially with a louder Om, and then slowly going from Vaikhari to what is called as Ajapa Japa. The Omkar can only be there without the sound. And the vibrations that it sets are set out in the environment around, including the instrument that is saying the Omkara. These vibrations then stimulates all of the, being the primordial or the primal vibration, it changes the vibration all around. Mind well, vibrations do not die. Even the utterances of yesteryear's rishis and munis are still there in the cosmos. That is what is propagating us forward. So the vibrations do not die. In fact, we know the theory of karma vipaka. Every karma is because of desire. What is desire? Desire is a massless object. Desire is a massless object. So that means it's a thought. A thought is a vibration. So when a desire is thrown out, a vibration is thrown out. That vibration, because it is thrown out with an intention, it fructifies. It fructifies means that vibration gets converted into a form. That form is what we are actually asking for. I want to eat. I want to have tons of gold in my house. The vibrations will start there. So it is a vibration specifically moving forward to fulfill, to fructify that particular thought of desire. And because of that, a goal has to be formed, and somebody who said, I want to have that, has also to be formed so that they can enjoy the desire that he did. That is how the body that actually got dissolved, the vibrations got distributed in the cosmos, again come together in the form of another body. And that is how the karma vipak also goes. Mind well, it is just the play of vibrations everywhere. The sound vibration, vibration of my speech, vibration of my thoughts. It is all vibrations around which get converted into a particularly particulate form or ghanibhuta. The dravya becomes ghanibhuta, solidification. And that is how the pranava's position, omkara's position is. That is how, and that is why a yogi alternates his yoga practices with Ishvara Pranidhan. So Ishvara and Ishvara's propitiation Pranidhana is extremely important, as stated by Patanjali Maharaj, provided we understand why Pranava, why it is called Omkara, why Om as a word. And mind well, it is the same word that is there in almost every religion. Whether it is Amen, whether it is Amin, whether it is Jehovah, whether it is the monad of Greek philosophy, all the philosophies in the world are carrying, whether it is Allahu, it is called as Allahu. In Islam, it is Omkar. That is why when they do the dhikr or japa, japa is called in Arabic word dhikr. So when they do the dhikr, they say Allahu, 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 Allahu. They are actually chanting, doing japa of the same Omkara because it bestows power. That is why the Omkara happens to be the most critical and crucial mantra, the most original mantra of all. And because it is related to the origin of the creation, every mantra that is created within the creation has to be preceded by the primal mantra. So every mantra has Omkar or Pranava as the preceding alphabet. It is not an alphabet, it is a sound. So Om Ganganapataye Namaha. Ganganapataye Namaha is a mantra. It has to be preceded by Om. Shanti mantra has to be preceded as Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. It has to have Om. because of its all-pervasiveness, because of its universal primal impulse character, it forms a critical part in the mantra system of Hindu pantheon. Now the question comes, we have to do the japam, tat japaha, tad artha bhavanam. That is the 28th mantra. Now we have entered into the study of what is Omkara, how we do Omkara, and while doing Omkara, what are the precautions that we take? And then comes the question of what are the obstacles that a yogi gets or any sadhaka gets while doing Pranava sadhana or Omkara sadhana, which shall be the subject of our next session. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Mudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Sampada ji, do you have a question? You had unmuted yourself. If you have a question, please unmute and ask. Sanjay ji, I know you have more than once in today's commentary talked about the word vachak and the importance of that. I just want, so there was a way in which the sutra could have gone tasya brahma asti. Basically, you are God, right? So what is the vachak is vachak coming from vach, which means speak, and therefore what is the etymology of the word vachak for it to represent the fact that Omkara is God and not any other relationship?
Hari Om. The Brahman, when we talk about, we cannot do any sadhana of Brahman. The reason being, whenever you want to do any sadhana, that means we are trying to be one with a particular thing. That is sadhana. Sadhana means what? Suppose you are doing sadhana of you are doing artharajana, you are earning money. So you are doing the sadhana of earning money. So what you are doing? You are actually doing certain things. How you are doing it? By writing an account book, you earn money. So what is the sadhana? Writing an account book. What is the gain? You get the money at the end of the month. So that means you did the sadhana, but you know precisely to earn the money, what should be done? As an accountant, you should write the books. So that means the money is related to writing account books. Does writing account books means money? No. But writing account books will give you money. Now there is a sambandham between money and account writing books. What kind of sambandham is that? So every two things are related through a sambandham. In case of a vachya vachaka sambandham, vachya is what is uttered. And vachaka means what has been uttered for what. So for example, vachya, mango is a thing, a spherical thing kept on a table. A mango is kept on the table. That what is kept on the table is vachya. And mango is a word which is indicative of that. When I say mango, it indicates that spherical thing kept on that. That means what is kept there is different than the word I am saying. But they are associated with each other in such a manner that they cannot be separated. If I say mango, and if I say not the one which is on the table, you'll say, no, that is mango. Because there is an association between utterance, word, and the meaning. That is called abhidheya. Shabda and artha, they are inseparable. So when shabda and artha are inseparable, then the Shabda, if it means all that that Artha is, for example, let us say, I say mango. In your mind, you get everything about the mango without even seeing the mango. You're not eating it, fine. But Shabda and Artha are inseparable. Then comes the question, if I have to now talk about, let's say, a particular object. Now, I don't have it in my hand. So what I do is I constantly think of that object. What happens when you fall in love? You constantly think of that lady. The fiancé is constantly remembered. The remembrance time is the fiancé next to you? No. But by constant remembrance, you completely forget everything else. So what you do, that constant remembrance ultimately fructifies. Either you would like to go and see her once, meet her once, date her once, whatever it is. The whole concept is, by constant remembrance of that particular word, you're trying to reach to that object. So that means word can be used to reach the object. That is called as Vachaka is used to reach the Vachya. Now the question is, we want to request Lord, Ishvara. To request Ishvara, I must reach Ishvara to say something. To reaching Ishvara, I have to use his Vachaka Shabda. Now Ishvara, we saw what all it is, Sa, Vishesha, Klesha, Rahita, etc. All that fine. All the qualities of object we saw. But all that I call it by what name? What is the name of Ishvara? Ishvara is my Saudhnya. Saudhnya is not that. Why I am trying to ask precisely what will describe Ishvara? That precise sound that can describe it. No word can describe. Why? Word will be under the creation. Ishvara is beyond creation. So because Ishvara's first creation is sound, that is the closest that can go to the Ishvara's description. That is why that word, although it is not a word, that sound is called Omkar, treated as word, being Sanketa Dyotak of Ishvara. So that means Omkar is Ishvara. Why not Omkar is a meaning of Ishvara? Because meaning comes when the words are produced. Words are produced after Omkara. So that is why Omkara, a particular sound of a particular frequency, for that matter, all mantras are. So that frequency, if it is matched in amplitude, frequency, vibrations, and of course the state of heart, which puts most emotions into it, the bhavana, then it reaches the Ishvara, and the reach is then perceived by whom? By our mind, by our antakarana. And then the yogi becomes happy, one, and starts understanding more. What is happening? That understanding which expands, the knowledge which is expanding, the frontiers which are expanding is coming of Ishvara in the antakarana. That means you are becoming one with the Ishvara, because now ultimately you're going to become Ishvara Koti. So that is the process. That is why Vachaka and Vachya Sambandham. Vachya, the object to be identified. Vachaka, word used to identify that. The difference only is, in all the creation, the object and the word, they are related to each other because they are within the creation. Because this is beyond the creation, the only thing that can be used is whatever happened at the beginning of the creation is the closest to the Lord. That is Omkar. So it is so of paramount importance. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Sanjay ji, this Tasya Vajak Pranavaha or Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha?
Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. Mama. Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. Vachaka meaning, see, when you say Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha, Ka, when you pronounce it with little deeper pronunciation, it is called Mahaprana. Mahaprana means you emphasize on that word. Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. However, pra is there is a pa and a ra into it. Because it is a Sanyukta Akshara. Tasya Vachaka, see how it goes. Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. Because pra is there, this Mahaprana is also not very long. So Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. That is how it goes. Hari.
Those who have not experienced the Om chanting at Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda Park in a dark room, it is special. I mean, I have experienced, you won't be able to come out because you feel like it is coming from the galaxy. I mean, especially this is at least in Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa ashrams, this Om chanting is different from slightly, I think. Some difference is there. Even in Calcutta also I noticed that chanting is different from the usual chantings, that has got some special effect. Hari Om.
Hari Om. The special effect comes from the fact that the places where the realized souls have practiced their pranayama, have kept their presence, because in case of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Gurudeva, their breathing itself is Omkara. So wherever they sit, because they have already identified with the universal frequency, their presence emanates waves which still in that particular environment, they keep their presence. That is why all the Rishis of yesteryears, all the Munis, their words haven't died. They're still there in the waveforms, because in the universe nothing dies. It just gets transformed. All those waves are around. Such accumulation of waves which are of a higher nature gives a status of that particular place as Tirtha Kshetra. Remember one thing, what is there in Pandharpur? It's a very small hamlet in some district of Sholapur where hardly any facility is existing. But for 900 years, that has been the place where Santa Jnaneshwar, Namdev, Tukaram, Purandar Das, Kanak Das, everybody went. What is the reason? Tirumala is some small hill in Andhra Pradesh. But why there is so much of attraction for people to go there? And mind well, nobody is paid for going. They go out of all difficulties, they go. And then in that enormous line, they stand there just for a glimpse of Tirumala. The reason is the place is full of, because people of Ramanujam's type have done penances there. So that is why Tirtha Kshetram, that is called as Sat Sangati, Satya Sangati. Sat Sangati doesn't mean only with the live people you have to do. That is why you take Jnaneshwari and go to Jnaneshwara's Samadhi in Dehu. You understand it better. You go to Gurudeva's Shidbari, sit in front of that Samadhi and try to read one of his Aparokshanubhuti. You will understand it better. What happens is the place, the person, all have impact. We are not isolated in this world. We are in a mixed world. We are constantly affected. That is why we are always told not to get into the dirty areas where dirty practices are practiced. The brothels, the pubs, the detoxifying fluids like alcohol and others, you have to be miles away. It gives momentary pleasure, but it completely obliterates the positive vibes or frequencies with which. What is satsangat? What is pravachanam? It is creating satsanga, creating positive waves in our mind, elevating ourselves. That's why we always use the word. It was an elevating experience. What is elevated? The elevation is having lots and lots of positive thought waves. Hari Om.
Oh, Sanjay, that is the reason all the sadhus are getting attracted from faraway places. Like Ramana Maharshi is where
Always.
You get, yeah? Hari Om.
Always. That's why we must keep going to pilgrimage is meant for that. Pilgrimage is not meant for just banging the bell there and clapping and doing some arati. Just be there 2-3 days in Gurudeva's place, wherever Gurudeva has visited. Be there, but with bhavana. Presume and think always Gurudeva to be with you. Why not to presume that Gurudeva is also listening to the pravachanam? Why not to think that he is happy with what we are speaking? Why not to think that Gurudeva has come and patted on this back saying that, well done, keep it. This is how, if we feel, that means his presence will be felt everywhere. And who says Gurudeva's presence cannot be felt? Those are dumb people. Those are people mute. They can't hear. Gurudeva's constant vibrations are there. And they are there at each and every place. That's why if anything wrong happening at our hand, remember Gurudeva. Ask him, pray him. When you say, Lord, give me power to resist this temptation, whom are you praying to? You are praying to Ishvara. And who else is, what difference is there between Gurudeva and Ishvara? None whatsoever. So we have to always keep that in mind. That's why Gurudeva's laughter, Gurudeva's radiating face, Gurudeva's emphatic words, Gurudeva's walk, Gurudeva's beautiful red color, Uttariyam, Gurudeva's hand going through the beard, Gurudeva's clean spectacles, Gurudeva's the tilakam, everything can be remembered, bhavana. That is how we do it. Hari Om.